The government representatives arrived in black vehicles on a snowy January morning. Megan stood protectively close to Zara as they entered the town hall, which had been prepared for this important meeting. Despite Megan's reassurances, Zara felt a familiar dread. On Noxus, authorities only took interest in individuals to assign blame or demand service. But these humans were different. They introduced themselves with respectful handshakes and genuine smiles. Dr. Eleanor Bennett led the scientific team, while Catherine Walsh represented national security. They brought no weapons, only tablets and recording equipment they asked permission to use. "We've been briefed on your situation," Dr. Bennett said, her kind eyes crinkling at the corners. "First, let me say officially, welcome to Earth, Zara. We're honored to have you here." The formal welcome brought unexpected tears to Zara's eyes. After months on Earth, after acceptance from the townspeople of Pine Creek, this acknowledgement from the broader human government touched something deep within her. "We have many questions," Catherine added, "but also assurances. You have rights here, including the right to decline answering anything that makes you uncomfortable. We're not here to study you like a specimen, but to learn from you as a visitor." Zara glanced at Megan, who nodded encouragingly. "I will answer what I can," Zara said. "Humans have shown me kindness. I wish to return this." The questions began simply enough, confirming details about her planet, species, and the accident that brought her to Earth. Then they became more technical, exploring Noxian technology, spaceflight capabilities, and energy systems. Zara explained concepts as clearly as her still-developing English allowed. When words failed, she drew diagrams that made the scientist's eyes widen with excitement. What was basic education on Noxus represented revolutionary advancements for Earth science. "Your understanding of quantum mechanics is extraordinary," Dr. Bennett commented. "Some of these principles we've only theorized about." "Not extraordinary for Noxian," Zara corrected gently. "Basic learning for all children. My knowledge is incomplete. I was not permitted higher education." "Because of your size?" Catherine asked perceptively. Zara nodded. "Noxian value physical strength above all. Small means weak. Weak has no value." The humans exchanged glances that Zara had learned to recognize as dismay. "Yet you survived when others didn't," Catherine observed. "Your weakness may have been your salvation. Your size allowed you to fit into protected spaces during the crash, didn't it?" The observation startled Zara. She had never considered this, that her small stature might have been the very reason she survived. The thought was revolutionary, challenging everything her culture had taught her about her supposed deficiencies. The meeting continued for hours, breaking only for meals. By late afternoon, Dr. Bennett presented a proposal. "We would like to invite you to work with our scientific community, Zara. Your knowledge could advance Earth technology by decades, particularly in renewable energy and materials science. This would be a collaborative relationship, an exchange of knowledge, not exploitation. You would have citizenship, protection under our laws, and compensation for your contributions," Catherine added. "Most importantly, you would have choices. You could remain in Pine Creek if you wish, visiting research facilities periodically, or relocate to a scientific hub. The decision would be entirely yours." On Noxus, Zara had never been offered choices. Her path had been determined by her physical limitations, her duties assigned rather than selected. The concept of choosing her own future was both exhilarating and terrifying. "I need time to consider," she said finally. "Of course," Dr. Bennett smiled. "Take all the time you need. We'll leave materials explaining the offer in detail." That evening, sitting in Megan's living room with the proposal document spread before her, Zara felt overwhelmed by possibility. "What do you think I should do?" she asked Megan, who had been quietly supportive throughout the day. "It's not about what I think," Megan replied, settling beside her on the couch. "For the first time in your life, this is completely your decision. But I will say this. You have gifts, Zara. Not just your knowledge of advanced technology, but your perspective, your resilience. You could do a lot of good here. I would not have to leave Pine Creek forever. Not if you don't want to. This can always be your home." Megan hesitated, then added softly, "I've come to think of you as family. That won't change no matter what you decide. Family, another concept that held different meaning on Earth than on Noxus. There, family was biological connection and shared duty. Here, Megan offered something deeper. Chosen connection, unconditional acceptance. I will help humans, Zara decided. But Pine Creek stays my home. The arrangement began gradually. Twice monthly, Zara traveled to a research facility 3 hours from Pine Creek, spending several days working with scientists before returning home. Her enhanced strength in Earth's gravity and her unique physiology became subjects of study, but always with her consent and participation in the research design. Dr. Bennett became both colleague and friend, marveling at Zara's abilities. Your muscle density and cellular structure are extraordinary, she explained after one series of tests. In Earth's gravity, you can lift nearly 10 times your body weight. For a human, that would be like lifting a car. More significant were Zara's contributions to energy technology. The principles of Noxian power generation, when adapted to Earth materials, proved remarkably efficient and clean. Within months, prototype generators based on her designs were producing electricity with minimal environmental impact. As her confidence grew, so did her comfort with human society. Megan accompanied her to Washington, D.C., where she addressed a scientific conference. Standing at a podium specially adjusted for her height, Zara presented concepts that would reshape Earth's technological future. The greatest resource of any world, she concluded her speech, is not its minerals or energy, but diversity of thought and ability. On my world, difference was weakness. On yours, I have learned it can be strength. The applause was thunderous. Cameras flashed as Zara stood tall despite her small stature, her violet skin glowing under the lights. Her once shameful smallness now a mark of distinction rather than disgrace. Media coverage made her recognizable globally. Children wrote letters saying they wanted to be scientists like the lady from the stars. Universities offered honorary degrees. Companies sought her consultation on technology projects. Through it all, Zara maintained her connection to Pine Creek. She taught regular classes at the school, helped with community projects, and continued living in the small house Megan helped her purchase near the town square. When not working on revolutionary technology, she tended a garden of earth plants that fascinated her with their variety and beauty. 1 year after her arrival on Earth, Zara received a message that changed everything again. Earth's deep space monitoring stations had detected an approaching vessel, a Noxian ship, following the trace radiation signature of her crashed explorer. The news struck fear into her heart. Would they come to retrieve her? To punish her for sharing Noxian technology with another species? Or simply to confirm her death, never expecting to find her alive and thriving? Government officials assembled a response team immediately. Catherine Walsh returned to Pine Creek, bringing military advisors and diplomatic experts to prepare for first contact with an advanced alien species. You don't have to participate, Catherine assured Zara. We can handle this without putting you at risk, but Zara shook her head firmly. They are my people, even if they rejected me. I must be there. The Noxian ship entered Earth orbit 3 days later. After establishing basic communication protocols, they requested landing coordinates for a small shuttle carrying representatives. The location selected was a secure military base 50 miles from Pine Creek, close enough for Zara to reach quickly, far enough to protect the town if things went poorly. On the morning of the scheduled landing, Zara stood beside Catherine and Dr. Bennett on the designated landing area. Megan waited nearby, refusing to leave despite security concerns. Military personnel maintained a respectful perimeter, weapons ready but not aimed at the sky. The shuttle descended with the familiar hum of Noxian engines. It was smaller than Zara expected, not a warrior vessel but a diplomatic craft. As it touched down on Earth soil, Zara straightened her shoulders and raised her chin. She would meet her people not as the rejected runt of Noxus but as Earth's honored ally and friend. The shuttle door opened, and 3 Noxians emerged. Their purple skin looked vivid against the blue Earth sky, their tall frames imposing beside the human officials. They wore formal attire rather than military armor, a promising sign. The central figure, a female with the insignia of a high counselor, stopped abruptly upon seeing Zara. Recognition and shock passed across her features. "Technician Zara," she said in the Noxian language, her tone conveying disbelief. "You survive." "I am Zara of Earth now," Zara replied in the same tongue, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "And I am no longer a technician. I am a scientist, teacher, and diplomatic representative of humanity." The High Counselor's eyes widened at this declaration. She looked from Zara to the human standing supportively beside her, then back again. 5 years after her crash landing on Earth, Zara stood on the observation deck of the Harmony Station, the first joint Noxian human space platform orbiting Earth. Through the reinforced viewport, she could see both her adopted home's blue-green surface and, when the station rotated, the distant star around which Noxus orbited. The station represented a milestone in interspecies cooperation, incorporating technology from both worlds and staffed by mixed crews. It served as a research facility, diplomatic neutral ground, and symbolic bridge between civilizations that might never have connected had a small purple alien not survived a crash landing in Montana. Ambassador, the Galactic Council representatives have arrived, announced Sharon Lewis, Zara's human assistant and longtime friend. They're waiting in the conference chamber. Zara nodded, adjusting the formal diplomatic attire she wore for such occasions. Are the other ambassadors present? Yes, all 7 species representatives are accounted for. This meeting marked another historic moment. The first time Earth would be formally considered for membership in the Galactic Council, an alliance of spacefaring civilizations that Noxus had joined centuries earlier. Zara would present Earth's case alongside Catherine Walsh, now serving as Earth's first appointed interstellar diplomat. The path to this moment had not been smooth. Initial excitement over Earth-Noxus relations had given way to complex realities of bridging vastly different cultures. Traditionalists on Noxus resisted changes to their strength-based hierarchy. Some human nations feared alien influence or technology. Religious institutions on both worlds struggled to incorporate new cosmological realities. Through it all, Zara had maintained her unique position, respected by humans for her knowledge and contributions, increasingly influential among Noxians, as living proof that their traditional values needed expansion. Her embassy in Pine Creek had grown into a center for cultural exchange, scientific collaboration, and diplomatic training. Most significantly, what began with Zara had expanded to include others like her. Across Noxus, those previously marginalized for physical differences were finding new paths. Some came to Earth where gravity suited their smaller frames. Others remained on Noxus advocating for social reforms. The differently structured, as they now called themselves instead of non-standard, formed a growing community with Zara as their reluctant but effective symbol. As Zara entered the conference chamber, 7 different species turned to acknowledge her arrival. The Galactic Council representatives presented a striking visual array: the insectoid vril with their compound eyes and iridescent exoskeletons, the gaseous muar contained in specially designed environment suits, the massive, slow-moving Dorn whose homeworld's intense gravity made them living tanks on other planets. Catherine Walsh stood from her seat, smiling warmly at Zara. Over the years, they had developed deep mutual respect, navigating difficult negotiations together and becoming friends beyond their professional relationship. Ambassador Zara, Catherine greeted her. We were just discussing your unique qualification to introduce Earth's petition. Indeed, rumbled the Dorn representative, voice translator converting their subsonic communications to audible speech. Few can claim to understand 2 worlds as thoroughly as you. Your perspective will be valuable. Zara took her place at the circular table. I appreciate your confidence, though I must emphasize that I speak as one individual. Both Earth and Noxus contain multitudes of perspectives, yet it was your individual experience that began this connection, noted the Vril representative, antennae quivering. One small being, crashing on an unknown world, has altered the development path of 2 civilizations and now, potentially, the Council itself. The observation made Zara momentarily self-conscious. She had never sought such influence, had never imagined her life would take such turns. From unwanted technician to interstellar diplomat, the journey seemed impossible when viewed from its beginning. If I may, Catherine interjected smoothly, Ambassador Zara's story illustrates precisely why Earth deserves consideration for Council membership. We are a young species by your standards, yes. Our interstellar technology is still developing. But we offer perspective that may benefit the Council, a willingness to see value where others might not look. The formal petition proceedings began, with representatives from each Council species presenting questions about Earth's readiness. Zara and Catherine addressed them together. highlighting humanity's rapid technological advancement, accelerated by Noxian knowledge sharing, their cultural adaptability, and their proven ability to forge peaceful relations with an advanced species. We recognize membership may be premature, Catherine concluded. Earth does not yet meet all traditional criteria. We ask instead for observer status, a position from which we can learn council protocols while demonstrating our potential contributions. The council representatives conferred privately, their various communication methods creating a symphony of sounds, lights, and movements incomprehensible to outsiders. When they returned their attention to the human Noxian delegation, the Muar representative's environment suit glowed with the pale blue that indicated formal speech. The council acknowledges Earth's petition and grants observer status. Effective immediately, the translated voice announced. Furthermore, we wish to recognize the unique role Ambassador Zara has played in bringing a new perspective to interstellar relations. The council proposes establishing a new diplomatic position, interspecies liaison, and offers this role to you, Ambassador. The unexpected proposal silenced the room. Even Catherine looked surprised. This position would enable you to facilitate understanding between diverse council species, the Muar continued. Your demonstrated ability to bridge significant physiological and cultural differences would be invaluable as the council continues to expand. Zara felt momentarily overwhelmed. From outcast to council diplomat, the trajectory seemed impossible, yet here it was, offered formally. I am honored by your confidence, she responded carefully. I would need to consult with both my governments before accepting such a position. Of course, the Dorn representative acknowledged. The offer remains open while you consider. Later, alone in her private quarters on the station, Zara contacted Megan back in Pine Creek, though Megan no longer served as mayor, having returned to her sheriff position by preference. She remained Zara's closest confidant and friend. They offered you a position on the Galactic Council? Megan repeated, eyes widening on the screen. Zara, that's incredible. Not on the council, Zara corrected. Working for them as a liaison between species. It would mean extensive travel, less time on Earth. Megan's expression softened with understanding. And you're torn about leaving your home. Homes, Zara emphasized. Earth has become my true home, but Noxus is changing in ways I never imagined possible. My work connecting them feels unfinished. Maybe this isn't about leaving anything behind, Megan suggested. Maybe it's about expanding your circle wider. You've connected Earth and Noxus. Now you could help connect them to others. Zara considered this perspective. When I was young on Noxus, my dream was simply to find a place where I belonged. Somewhere my size didn't make me worthless, and now I belong in multiple places. I have value in multiple contexts. Zara shook her head wonderingly. It still seems impossible sometimes. Not impossible, Megan smiled. Just evidence that the universe is bigger and more accepting than your homeworld led you to believe. After ending the call, Zara moved to the viewport again, watching Earth rotate slowly below. The blue planet had given her what Noxus never had, recognition of her worth regardless of her physical form. In return, she had given Earth access to advanced technology and a place in the wider galactic community. A fair exchange, she thought. One that benefited both worlds. Her communication device chimed again, this time showing Vela's formal identification. The High Counselor rarely made personal calls, preferring to work through official channels. Ambassador, Vela greeted her. I've been informed of the Council's offer. Congratulations. Thank you, High Counselor. I'm still considering my response. Vela nodded, her expression uncharacteristically hesitant. I wish to share something with you. Something personal, not official. This was unprecedented. Noxian leaders did not share personal thoughts, particularly not with those of traditionally lower status. I'm listening, Zara encouraged gently. When we first learned of your survival on Earth, I expected to find you suffering, desperate to return home. Instead, we found you thriving, respected, making contributions we had never allowed you to make on Noxus. Vela paused. It challenged everything I believed about our society's structure. Change is difficult, Zara acknowledged. Even when necessary. Yes, but necessary it was. Vela's posture straightened, returning to her more familiar authoritative bearing. The reforms you inspired have not been easy to implement. There is resistance, yet the evidence of their value grows daily. Our differently structured citizens are contributing in ways we never permitted before. I'm glad to hear it. Zara stood barely 4 feet tall, half the height of others on her home planet Noxus. Her violet skin was pale compared to the deep purple of her people, her frame slim, while others were muscular and imposing. Every morning she looked at her reflection with sadness, knowing another day of mockery awaited. Noxians valued physical strength above all. Their society was built on warrior tradition, with the largest and strongest rising to leadership positions. From birth, Zara was marked as different. Her parents tried to hide their disappointment, but she saw it in their eyes each time she failed physical trials other children passed with ease. Too small for battle training, the military instructor announced when she was 10 cycles old. Too weak for construction, said another at 12 cycles. By adulthood, Zara found herself assigned to the lowest position possible, maintenance technician on research vessels. Even there, crew members avoided her, as if her small stature might somehow be contagious. The council has assigned you to the Explorer vessel, her supervisor informed her without making eye contact. They depart tomorrow for the outer reaches. Pack your belongings. The news struck Zara like a physical blow. The Explorer missions were dangerous, often one-way journeys into uncharted space. Everyone knew they assigned outcasts to these ships. It was a convenient way to remove unwanted elements from Noxian society. That night, Zara packed her few possessions while her family ate dinner in another room. No one came to say goodbye. When morning arrived, she walked alone to the spaceport. Her small shoulders hunched against the cold wind and colder stares of passers-by. The Explorer vessel loomed above the landing pad, an aging ship with visible patches along its hull. The crew consisted of 12 Noxians, each with some perceived flaw or failure that made them expendable. The captain, a grizzled female named Cora, had questioned military orders once too often. The navigator had failed a critical mission. The others all carried similar stories of disgrace. "You will maintain the engine systems," Cora told Zara, looking down at her with barely concealed disdain. "Stay out of the way unless called upon. We launch in 1 hour." The ship rumbled to life beneath Zara's feet as she secured herself in the small technician's quarters near the engine room. No windows, barely enough space to stand upright, though for her that wasn't an issue. She felt the vibration increase as the ship lifted off, carrying her away from the only home she had ever known, a home that had never wanted her. Days passed in isolation. The crew called her only when systems needed repair, then dismissed her immediately after. Zara spent hours studying the ship's manuals, learning every circuit and connection. If technical skill couldn't earn respect, at least it might keep her alive. 2 months into their mission, alarms blared throughout the ship. Zara was jolted awake as emergency lights flashed red. "All crew to stations," Cora's voice commanded over the intercom. Unknown anomaly detected ahead. Zara rushed to the engine room where readouts showed massive energy spikes. Through the small observation window, she saw it, a swirling vortex of blue and purple energy, growing larger as they approached. Engines not responding to course correction. The bridge reported, "Prepare for emergency protocols." The ship shuddered violently. Zara's small size became an advantage as she braced herself in a maintenance alcove, while larger crew members were thrown across rooms. The wormhole's gravitational pull seized them completely, spinning the vessel like a toy. Zara heard screams over the intercom, then silence. Emergency bulkheads sealed automatically, trapping crew members in sections where hull breaches occurred. The lights failed, plunging the engine room into darkness broken only by occasional electrical sparks. When the spinning finally stopped, Zara crawled from her hiding place. The artificial gravity fluctuated, making movement difficult. She made her way to the nearest emergency panel, activated the backup systems, and assessed the damage. Life support was failing. Hull integrity compromised in multiple sections. No response from the bridge or any crew quarters. The ship's computer indicated they had traveled an impossible distance far beyond charted space. Through the remaining viewport, Zara saw an unfamiliar blue-green planet below. The ship was caught in its gravitational field, systems too damaged to break free. They were going to crash. Zara worked frantically, rerouting power to stabilizers, trying to control their descent. Her small fingers moved with precision, where larger Noxian hands would have struggled in the confined spaces of damaged panels. She managed to activate the emergency landing protocols, giving them a slim chance of survival. The heat of atmospheric entry surrounded the ship in flames. Zara strapped herself into a crash harness as the ground rushed up to meet them. The impact knocked her unconscious, her last thought a bitter realization that she would die alone on an unknown world, unmourned by her people. When Zara awoke, sunlight streamed through a jagged tear in the hull. Pain radiated through her body, but a quick assessment confirmed no major injuries. The ship had broken into pieces upon landing, scattered across a grassy field. In the distance, she saw trees unlike any on Noxus, and beyond them, the outlines of structures that suggested intelligent life. She was the sole survivor. The captain and others had been in sections that took direct impact. Zara felt no joy in her survival, only a hollow ache of complete isolation. She was stranded on an unknown planet, the last of her kind for light years in any direction. As she gathered emergency supplies from the wreckage, Zara noticed movement on the horizon. Figures approached cautiously, smaller than Noxians but walking upright. They had no purple skin but instead showed a range of browns, tans, and pinks. They wore coverings of various colors and carried tools, not weapons. Zara considered hiding but realized the futility. This was their world. They would find her eventually. She stepped out from the shadow of the wrecked ship, standing as tall as her small frame allowed, and waited as the strange beings approached. The aliens stopped at a safe distance, staring with wide eyes. Then one stepped forward, a female, Zara guessed by the body shape. The alien's mouth moved, producing sounds Zara couldn't understand. But the tone was gentle, not threatening. The alien extended a hand slowly, palm up. It was a gesture Zara had never received on Noxus, an offer of help rather than a command or dismissal. With trembling fingers, she reached out and placed her 4-fingered hand in the alien's 5-fingered one. The alien smiled, and somehow, Zara understood this expression across the gulf of species. For the first time in her life, someone was glad to see her. The negotiations between Earth and Noxus unfolded over weeks, taking place in a specially constructed facility that accommodated both species' needs. Zara served as both translator and cultural interpreter, bridging the vast differences between her birth world and her adopted home. The Noxian delegation consisted of 5 representatives led by High Counselor Vela, who Zara learned had risen to power after the previous leadership was blamed for losing multiple explorer vessels. Vela represented a slightly more progressive faction among Noxians, though still bound by traditional values of strength and hierarchy. During private moments between formal meetings, Vela sought Zara's insights. "Your communications have been impeccable," the High Counselor noted. "Your understanding of these humans is remarkable, for one who has spent just one Earth cycle among them." "They made understanding easy," Zara replied. "They accept difference rather than punish it." "A luxury of an underdeveloped species," Vela dismissed. "They haven't faced the threats Noxus has throughout its history, the necessity of strength for survival." "Perhaps," Zara acknowledged. "Or perhaps their different approach is why they advance so quickly despite their physical limitations. Their technology may lag centuries behind ours, but their social development, their innovation, their adaptability, in these areas, they may surpass us." Vela seemed troubled by this assessment. "You speak of them with admiration. I speak of them with truth," Zara corrected. "They took in an alien with nothing to offer but knowledge, gave me a home, purpose, and respect. What would Noxus have done with a human crash survivor?" The question hung in the air unanswered, both knowing the likely treatment such a physically inferior being would receive on Noxus. The negotiations produced preliminary agreements, limited cultural exchange, sharing of non-military technology, and establishment of secure communication channels. The humans, led by Catherine Walsh, demonstrated remarkable diplomatic skill, neither showing fear of the physically imposing Noxians, nor making demands beyond what was reasonable for a first contact situation. As the agreements neared completion, Vela presented an unexpected proposal during a private meeting with Zara and the human leadership team. "We would like to establish a permanent Noxian presence on Earth," she stated. "A small delegation to maintain relations and further our mutual understanding." The humans exchanged glances, clearly concerned about security implications. "And," Vela continued, We would like Zara to be officially recognized as the first ambassador of Noxus to Earth, maintaining her residence here while representing our interests. The proposal stunned Zara into silence. On Noxus, she had been deemed unfit for any position of significance. Now the High Counselor offered her one of the most prestigious roles possible. This is unexpected, she finally managed, her voice barely above a whisper. It is logical, Vela countered. You understand both worlds. You have proven your capability despite previous assessments of your limitations, and you have earned the humans' trust, which is valuable to us. Catherine Walsh leaned forward. May I ask what prompted this offer? From our understanding of Noxian culture through Zara, this seems to contradict your traditional values regarding physical strength determining social role. Vela's expression remained impassive, but Zara detected discomfort in her posture. Our evaluation metrics are being reassessed. Zara's survival and success here suggest our previous criteria may have been insufficient. The diplomatic language masked a more significant shift than the humans could possibly understand. For Noxians to reconsider fundamental social structures based on new evidence was almost unprecedented. I would need time to consider, Zara said carefully, and assurances that this role would not require me to act against Earth's interests. Of course, Vela agreed. The details would be negotiated fully, with input from both your human advisors and our council. After the Noxians departed for the day, Megan found Zara sitting alone in the facility's garden area, designed with plants from both Earth and seeds brought by the Noxian delegation. You've been quiet since the meeting, Megan observed, settling beside her on a bench. The ambassador offer? Zara nodded, watching a hummingbird dart among Earth flowers. On Noxus, I was nothing. Less than nothing. Now they offer me power, position, respect. She turned to meet Megan's gaze. It feels like a trap. Maybe, Megan acknowledged. Or maybe seeing you here thriving changed something for them. Maybe they're realizing what they lost by dismissing people like you. People like me, Zara repeated softly. On Noxus, there were no others publicly acknowledged as like me, but there must have been some hidden away their talents wasted. Her fists clenched. If I accept this position, I could change that. I could show that strength takes many forms, Megan smiled. Sounds like you've made your decision. Not completely, Zara replied. Earth is my home now. I will not abandon it or Pine Creek or you. Any role I take must allow me to maintain those connections. The final day of initial negotiations arrived. The agreements were formalized in both human and Noxian legal frameworks, with provisions for ongoing communication and future meetings. When Vela officially extended the ambassadorship offer in the formal session, Zara was ready with her response. I accept the position of ambassador of Noxus to Earth, she announced, standing tall despite being the smallest being in the room. With conditions. I will maintain my residence in Pine Creek. I will continue my scientific collaboration with Earth institutions, and I will represent the interests of both worlds equally, as someone uniquely positioned to understand what benefits both our peoples. Vela's expression tightened at the conditions, but she nodded acceptance. Your terms are acceptable, Ambassador Zara. We will establish the embassy facilities according to your specifications. Thus began a new chapter in Zara's extraordinary journey. The Noxian embassy was built not in Washington or New York, but on the outskirts of Pine Creek, a compromise that raised eyebrows in diplomatic circles but perfectly suited Zara's determination to maintain her connection to the community that had first welcomed her. The embassy building reflected this dual purpose. Constructed with Noxian engineering but designed to complement local architecture, it contained advanced communication technology, meeting spaces for both species' comfort, and gardens where Earth and Noxian plants grew side by side. A small staff of Noxians, specially selected for their adaptability and openness to new ideas, assisted Zara in her diplomatic duties. Most surprising to Zara was the arrival of her first official visitor from Noxus, a young female named Tella, barely into adulthood and, like Zara, significantly smaller than the Noxian average. The High Council sent me as your assistant, Tella explained, her eyes downcast in the manner of all lower-status Noxians. They said I might learn from your experience. Zara understood immediately. Vela hadn't just offered her an ambassadorship. She'd created a precedent, a path for others like her who had been marginalized on Noxus. Look at me, Tella. Zara instructed gently, waiting until the young Noxian raised her eyes. On Earth, we don't look down when speaking to others. Here, your height doesn't determine your worth. Here, you will stand tall regardless of your physical stature. Over the following months, more non-standard Noxians arrived, some as embassy staff, others as students or observers. Each came with the same downcast eyes and hunched posture that Zara had once carried. Each gradually straightened, finding value in differences that had once been sources of shame. Simultaneously, human scientists and diplomats began visiting Noxus, protected by careful agreements and accompanied by Noxian guides. They returned with reports of a highly structured society, undergoing subtle but significant changes, triggered in part by what they now called the Zara precedent, the recognition that physical attributes alone were insufficient measures of worth. On Earth, Zara's influence expanded beyond diplomacy. Her work with Dr. Bennett led to breakthroughs in clean energy technology. The Zara generator, as humans nicknamed it, converted atmospheric particles to electricity with minimal environmental impact. Within 2 years, prototypes were operating in communities around the world. Beginning with Pine Creek, Zara maintained her teaching position at the local school, now expanded to include classes for both human children and young Noxians. In these classrooms, seated side by side, the next generation grew up without the prejudices of their elders. Human children learned Noxian language and science. Noxian youngsters absorbed human creativity and adaptability. On the 3rd anniversary of her crash landing, Zara stood before a gathered crowd in Pine Creek Central Park. Humans and Noxians mingled comfortably, a sight that would have been unimaginable when she first arrived. Beside her stood Megan, now serving as Pine Creek's mayor, and Vela, making her first personal visit to Earth as High Counselor. 3 Earth years ago, I arrived here broken and alone, Zara began, her voice carrying clearly despite her small stature. I believed myself worthless because that's what my culture had taught me. Earth taught me differently. The alien who extended her hand was named Megan Fisher, sheriff of Pine Creek, Montana. Zara learned this later after many gestures, simple drawings in dirt, and patient attempts at communication. The humans, as they called themselves, took Zara to their settlement, a small collection of buildings that seemed primitive compared to Noxian architecture, but possessed a warm, welcoming quality she had never experienced. They housed her in a building they called a clinic, where a woman named Diane Warren examined her with gentle hands and obvious fascination. Zara was equally fascinated by the humans. They were smaller than Noxians, but still taller than her, with strange hair growing from their heads in various colors and lengths. They lacked the purple skin tone of her people, instead displaying a range of brown, tan, and pink hues. Their 5-fingered hands seemed inefficient to her 4-fingered grasp, but they moved with surprising dexterity. Most shocking of all was how they treated her. No one mocked her size. No one turned away in disgust. Instead, they brought her food, comfortable bedding, and spent hours trying to establish communication. The contrast to her treatment on Noxus brought tears to her eyes, a reaction that alarmed her caretakers until she managed to convey they were tears of gratitude. Within weeks, Zara began to understand basic English words. The humans were patient teachers, pointing to objects and repeating words slowly. She learned water, food, sleep, and friend first. That last word had no exact equivalent in her language. The closest Noxian concept was useful, ally, which lacked the warmth the humans seemed to infuse into friend. Diane discovered that Zara could learn written language faster than spoken words. She brought pictures with corresponding words, then simple books. Zara's quick mind absorbed English text rapidly, though pronunciation remained challenging. Her vocal anatomy struggled with certain sounds, giving her speech a distinctive accent the humans found charming rather than worthy of ridicule. As her language skills improved, Zara began to share knowledge in return. She drew diagrams of Noxian technology, explaining concepts of energy generation and material science that were decades beyond Earth's current understanding. The humans were amazed rather than jealous or threatened. 2 months after her arrival, Zara moved from the clinic to Megan's home, a small house on the edge of town with a spare bedroom and a view of mountains that reminded her of northern Noxus. Here, she experienced privacy, another concept barely recognized in Noxian culture. where communal living was enforced and personal space considered wasteful. Megan lived alone except for two furry creatures called cats, which initially terrified Zara until she realized they were harmless companions. The small animals eventually became fascinated with her, perhaps sensing her different biology, and would sleep curled beside her at night. This simple acceptance from another living being brought Zara more comfort than she could express. One morning, as they shared a meal called breakfast, Megan asked, "Would you like to come to town today? People are curious about you, but we've kept visitors limited so you wouldn't feel overwhelmed." Zara hesitated. The prospect of meeting more humans triggered memories of walking Noxian streets under judging stares. "They will not fear me?" Megan smiled gently. "They're curious, not afraid. And honestly, Zara, you're about as intimidating as a kitten, in a good way," she added quickly. "People are excited to meet you." The concept of anyone being excited to meet her was so foreign that Zara struggled to comprehend it. Still, she trusted Megan, who had shown nothing but kindness. "I will come." They walked together down the main street of Pine Creek, a small town with fewer than 2,000 residents. Humans emerged from buildings as they passed, keeping a respectful distance but waving and smiling. Children pointed and whispered, their eyes wide with wonder rather than cruelty. At the town hall, a gathering had been arranged. Town officials, teachers, and other community leaders greeted Zara with formal handshakes and warm welcomes. They asked questions through Megan when Zara's English failed her, showing genuine interest in her world, her journey, and her well-being. A woman named Lisa Morgan, who taught science at the local school, asked if Zara would consider speaking to her students. "They've been learning about the solar system," she explained. "Having someone who's actually traveled through space would be incredible for them." On Noxus, Zara had never been asked to teach anyone anything. Her knowledge was considered as unimportant as her physical stature. Yet here, these humans looked at her with respect, valuing what she could contribute rather than focusing on what she lacked. "I would be honored," she replied carefully, pronouncing each word with deliberate precision. The next day, standing before 20 children seated on a colorful rug, Zara experienced something new, authority based on knowledge rather than physical dominance. The children raised hands, asked questions without mockery, and watched in awe as she drew the star system she had visited on a large paper map. One small girl with braided hair raised her hand and asked, "Are all aliens purple like you?" "No," Zara answered. "Many species, many colors. Like humans, all different, all special." The girl nodded solemnly. "I like purple. It's pretty, pretty." Another concept rarely applied on Noxus, where functionality trumped aesthetics in all things. Yet this human child looked at her alien features and found beauty there. Something warm expanded in Zara's chest, a feeling she couldn't name but cherished nonetheless. After the school visit, word spread quickly. Journalists from nearby cities requested interviews. Government officials made discreet inquiries. Megan protected Zara from the sudden attention, screening visitors and ensuring she never felt like a specimen on display. "They can wait," Megan insisted when Zara expressed concern about declining interview requests. "You're a person, not a circus attraction. Take all the time you need." Time was something Zara had in abundance. Analysis of her ship's remains confirmed what she already knew. There was no way to repair it or signal Noxus. Even if she could, she wasn't certain she wanted to return to a world that had rejected her. Here on Earth, her differences were celebrated rather than condemned. The most surprising discovery came when Zara first experienced Earth's lower gravity. During a walk in Megan's backyard, she jumped to avoid a sprinkler and soared nearly 6 feet into the air. Megan's astonished expression made Zara realize what had happened. Noxus had significantly stronger gravity than Earth. "Try again," Megan encouraged, eyes wide with wonder. Zara crouched and pushed off with her legs, sailing upward with an ease that felt like freedom incarnate. She landed gracefully, her body naturally adapting to the different gravitational pull. "That's amazing," Megan exclaimed. "What else can you do here that you couldn't do on Noxus?" The question opened a door to exploration. In the following days, they discovered that Zara could lift objects several times her body weight with ease. Her reflexes, already quick by Noxian standards, were lightning fast in Earth's conditions. Her small size, combined with these abilities, made her extraordinarily agile and strong relative to her frame. What had been weaknesses on Noxus were becoming strengths on Earth. The revelation transformed Zara's understanding of herself. She wasn't defective. She was simply designed for a different environment than the one where she was born. As summer turned to fall, Zara's presence in Pine Creek became almost normal. She helped at Lisa's school 3 days a week, teaching basics of astronomy and physics that were common knowledge on Noxus but revolutionary on Earth. She assisted Megan with community projects, her strength and technical knowledge proving invaluable for repairs around town. On cool evenings, she sat on Megan's porch watching stars appear and identifying the distant region where Noxus orbited its sun. Sometimes she felt a pang of homesickness, not for the planet itself, but for what might have been had her people seen her value as these humans did. "Do you miss them?" Megan asked one night following Zara's gaze to the stars. "I miss what they could have been," Zara answered truthfully, "not what they were to me." Megan nodded, understanding without requiring further explanation. That was another gift humans offered: acceptance without demanding justification. On Noxus, every preference, every decision had to serve collective goals. Here, Zara was learning to simply be herself. Winter brought new experiences: snow, holiday celebrations, and indoor activities when temperatures dropped. Zara discovered she was less sensitive to cold than humans, another adaptation that had gone unappreciated on her homeworld. As the new year began, Megan received a call that would change everything. Government officials were coming to Pine Creek, not local representatives but high-ranking members of national security and scientific agencies. They had been monitoring the situation from a distance, respecting the small town's handling of their extraterrestrial visitor. Now they wanted to meet Zara officially.